We just as a society just need to normalize that therapy is like just talking to someone else. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to reach out to a therapist or psychiatrist and talk to your friends about the way you feel because it's normal.
Welcome back to Coffee with Zach. My name is Zach Hathaway, your host, and today I am joined with Jackson Hall. We're going to be talking about music, education, mental health, and some social issues. Today's coffee feature is Foster Coffee Company in East Lansing, Michigan. So that's what we're drinking today. That's also where we're filming. So thanks to Nick and John here at Foster for letting us use their space. Without further ado, let's jump right into it.
All right, let's do it.
So let's talk about mental health. My first question is, why is mental health important to you?
Mental health is important to me because it is something that I didn't know that I struggled with, and I didn't know that I even experienced. And it wasn't until 2020 that I really realized that, like, hey, I'm not okay. Like, and that I need to not only get help with mental health, but also advocate that it's okay to talk about it.
Absolutely. Have you noticed that since you did start advocating for mental health, that other people in your life have like come to you and said, hey, I struggle with the same things, or, I realized this about myself, those kind of things?
Absolutely. I've had some of my friends actually reach out to me and ask me about therapy and just talking with someone to talk about their feelings. And I've had multiple people reach out to me and just say, hey, thank you for being an advocate for this, because for me, I relate to you on the same type of ways, and I feel the same way, and I just felt like finally someone was talking about it when it needs to be said. So everyone's mental health is different, and everyone struggles with different aspects, but yeah, I mean, I've been really like surprised by the amount of people that have like reached out to me and talked to me about their health and how it's important to them.
Absolutely. What would you say to people who like think there's like a stigma behind like mental health and
I
things
would
like that?
totally validate their thoughts behind it and understand that society has always perceived mental health as a illness and as a weakness or unstableness that people can't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
What I want to say is, like, mental health is like, it's every day. It is not like you have a bad day and like you need to go talk to someone. Like, mental health is like a continuation of your life every single day from start to finish. And it's a progress. It's not like you're one and done. Like, oh, I feel good. Like, I love myself now. Now I'm done. No, it's a continuation of you growing as a person and figuring out how you react to certain situations, and how you do relationships, and how you deal with people and friends and parents and trauma and triggers and PTSD and all of those things. And I just find it important for people to know that the stigma behind it should be revoked. It should be totally removed from its label and just start clean and realize that, hey, every single person experiences emotions, every single person cries, every single person is sad at least one point in their life, or anger or frustration, or experience death or heartbreak or depression or anxiety. And it's okay to embrace those things. Like, embrace them. Like, do it. So that my word to them is like, let go of the stigma, release it, and just like express your emotions.
Yeah. Why do people feel emotions? No, I'm not asking for like a scientific answer or anything, but why do you think people feel these emotions?
People feel emotions because they're passionate towards something, or they love something, or they don't like something, or they have experience with something that has given them life or has caused them death in a situation. And emotions can make you feel good, bad, sad, angry, happy, and people want to feel those emotions, like, and they feel them every day. Like,
What is your favorite emotion?
my favorite emotion is an overwhelming feeling of pure happiness. When I'm in a moment where I feel 100% me, and I feel like I could cry because I'm so happy, I love
Yes.
that. There is a scene in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I don't know if you ever watched that movie, but
I have not, but I will add it to my list.
it is a scene where they are driving through a tunnel, and the main character is in the back of a pickup truck, and he decides that he is going to stand up and put his arms out and go through this tunnel
Oh yes.
in
Okay.
the
Yeah.
middle of the night with his best friends, listening to their favorite music. And for once in his life, he feels alive. He feels like he is on the top of the world, and he's, for that 30 seconds that they show the scene, he's living in the moment. He is the main character. And like when I feel like I'm the main character, that's when I feel pure happiness. When I don't worry about what people are watching, what people are thinking, how in like I'm just on with me or with a person that I love or my friends or anything. That main character that you are embodying, it's unbeatable to me.
Is that an original quote?
What?
When I feel like I'm the main character.
Oh no. I mean,
No.
I don't. I mean, I just said that, but
You just said that?
I mean,
just,
people always say they're like a main character vibes or whatever. But
I
like,
had never heard that like phrase before. I
Oh,
like that.
yeah,
That's why I
it's-
asked.
Yeah, it's like this thing that goes around. Like, are you the main character or are you the supporting character?
Like in your life.
in your
all
life,
that,
yes.
Yeah. I never really heard that
Mhm.
like
But
used
yeah.
before to describe how you feel in your life. So
Pure happiness is
Yeah.
something that we tend to see in spurts.
I agree. I have a hard time remembering the last time I was genuinely purely happy.
Hmm.
Because I don't know if that was real happiness or
Yeah,
not. So I definitely understand that.
it's hard.
Like that being
I
your
mean,
favorite emotion.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't feel pure happiness in 2020 at all. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible for so many people, but like horrible for me in the sense that I hated it. I hated everything about it. I hated being alone. I hated the situations that happened to me. I hated not being able to see my family or friends. I hated it.
Yeah.
I wanted to move to Lady Gaga's Chromatica and never come back. And that was a main reason why I had to address the way I was feeling. I had to talk about why I felt this way and why I felt so awful. And like so many people can relate to it because like COVID really
It hit a lot of people.
it hit a lot of people. And I mean COVID sorry, there's something in my eye.
No, you're good.
COVID to me, like I learned a lot about COVID and like that wasn't a thing, but like the other things that impacted my life
Yeah.
and my like depression and anxiety, those things were more the struggle that I overcame than
Yeah.
COVID. And I know people's stories are very different. I know COVID really messed up people's lives and it really caused super strong consequences and like struggles. And I will say COVID was like a domino effect of that. But like for me, my depression was definitely my biggest struggle during that
Yeah.
time.
And I feel like a lot of people downplay that. Like, oh, well, you weren't in the hospital. You weren't like,
Yeah.
you weren't like on your deathbed or something like that.
Well, and depression
It's-
is something that I never thought that I would experience. That I never thought that me, an outgoing, super fun, like my life's great, like I have, like don't have to worry about anything. I have a car, my family's healthy, like I go to school, like I have good friends. I never thought that I mentally could experience depression. And it wasn't until the middle of 2020 where I was like, wait, I think I've been depressed for like 2 years, and I just don't think that I wanted to think about it, nor did I have the mental capacity to realize what depression was and what were the symptoms and what I looked like and what I felt like. And I just think that it's so hard to recognize you feel a certain way when you're in it. It's
Right.
another way when you're out of it and you're like, oh my gosh, that was awful. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can say like from experience that like I never was so unmotivated for my life than ever before. I
Yeah.
dropped a class. I almost like was moved home with my family. I almost um like quit my job because I was like I literally cannot do it. Like I literally was like in the back of this building in here because fun fact everyone, I worked here for a while. um I was in the back crying doing dishes and like it was horrible and like it was not a good time for me and I had amazing coworkers here that totally helped me out and were like
Yeah.
Jackson, go to the back and deal with what you have to deal with and just do you. And like it was extremely hard and like people say that like your brain like blocks out times in your life that you don't want to remember, and I can solely say from June until December I do not remember. I do not remember anything that happened. I remember like major events, whether
Yeah.
that be like my birthday or like Halloween or Christmas. Anything else out the window. I literally like people told me stuff and I'm like I don't know what you're talking about. And
I
it was
totally understand.
and it was super hard for me to realize that and like accept the fact that that was a time in my life where I literally it will probably take years, but it's gonna take me forever to remember what happened during that time because my brain was so sad and depressed and my body just didn't care. Like, I mean, yeah, depression is real and it's not and everyone experiences it differently and people can put on a show. And I was one of those people. I pretended that I was fine because I didn't want my friends to worry about me. I didn't want them to think that, oh my gosh, Jackson is like on the brink of like an explosion, like, or swirling down into this abyss of nothingness. I didn't want anyone to know. So I would come to work and I would pretend that everything was fine and I would smile and through my mask and pretend that I was okay. And I wasn't. And I did that through social media too. I posted all the time on social media, making like I was getting in shape, that I was running, that I was living my best life. When in reality, I was literally the complete opposite. I was not eating healthy. I was running way too much. I was literally crying in my room every single day. And I had no idea what to do. And it wasn't until I decided that I needed to get help and needed to talk to someone about these experiences, then things started to get better. And like, I just think that depression works in so many different ways for so many different people.
Yeah.
And like, some people have a really hard time with like showing like happiness and like faking it. And some people can fake it forever. And I have friends that fake it. I have friends that know how to play the game and they know how to show that they're okay when in reality they are not doing well. And I did that for a long time. And I mean, it's just important to show that you can not be okay, and that is okay. And that took me such a long time for me to accept that me, Jackson Hall, is not okay right now. And that is fine. Like, and I mean, it's hard, and it's not something that we like to admit.
No.
We don't like to admit when we're doing bad. We don't like to admit when we failed, or when we're sad, or have anxiety, or any of those things.
Absolutely not.
But the more you talk about it, and the more that you make it normalized, it's easier. It's just like when you talk about, it's like when you go through a breakup, or a death, or something bad in your life. As much as hard it is to talk the first time about it, it gets easier each time.
Yeah.
It was really hard for me to accept the fact that I was depressed. I did not like saying that. I did not like saying it because I felt like people were judging me. And I felt like I was unstable and mentally ill and weak and all these things. But as time went on, I can say, like here today, I was depressed. And yes, am I still trying to figure things out and am I trying to get better? 100%. But am I better than I was? Yeah. But I was depressed. It was horrible. And like, I think just we as a society just need to accept those things and like accept the place that we are in our lives, whether that be good, whether it be bad, whether it be in between, and we just need to like know that we will get out of it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and like hopefully once this stupid pandemic ends and we can go dance and have fun and go fly around the world, that just like that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And that's how it is for mental health, and it is a struggle, and not everyone can see the light, but there is light and there is hope. So
That's really well said.
thank you.
So what was like the moment you realized that you needed to find help?
The moment that I knew I needed to get help was I was staying at my roommate's family's house because at the time we were transitioning between our old house at Michigan State into our new. And we had a week where we couldn't live anywhere. So my car fully stacked with all my stuff.
Yeah.
I had no bedroom. I was living in the same room as my roommate, sleeping in the same bed for a whole week. And at that time, I was running a lot. Like I was running a lot because I was trying to make myself feel better, and I thought running would do that, and it would do it for about 30 minutes, my 30-minute run that I would go on. And at that certain day, I decided that I was going to go on a 7-mile run because I had to prove to myself that I could run and that I could be healthy and that I could be in shape. So I went out to dinner with my friend's family, and I didn't eat anything really because I was like, well, I have to look a certain way. If I look better on the outside, I'll feel better on the inside. And that was my model for about 4 months. And I was at dinner, had a couple bites of things, and the sun was setting, and I was like, well, crap, I still have to run. So I get back to their house, and I start running at like 8 p.m. And I decide, you know what, I'm going to run 7 miles. And they live back in the country where there's no street lights, there's nothing. And I get about 3.5 miles in, it's pitch black. I can't see a thing. My brain has no recollection that that's bad, that is unhealthy, that's not safe. And I run 3.5 miles back in the pitch darkness on a dirt road, or on a dirt / paved road, where I could be hit by a car, where I could have been like tripped and fall and hit my face. I was by myself. I did not run with anyone else. And I came back, and I landed in the driveway, and I stopped running, and I knew that I could never do that again, that was so unsafe, that it was not mentally healthy for me. I literally was like starving myself because I wanted to be skinnier, and I was running all the time, and I knew then that I needed help because I needed to work through the things that I had been going through and the situations that had occurred in my life, and I really needed to address them. And running wasn't going to help me anymore. Like it did for a while, but I was like, I need to talk to someone who aren't my family, who aren't my roommates, who aren't my best friends. I need to talk to someone about things that I didn't want to talk about. And so that was the realization where I had to realize that, Jackson, what you're doing is not healthy. What you're doing is very detrimental to your mental health. And running is great. Running is healthy. But you starving yourself and not eating and then going on those 10-mile, 7-mile runs and then coming home and forcing yourself to throw up, that is so wrong. And I just lived by the model for so long that if I looked better on the outside, that I would feel good on the inside. Yeah. And I knew that I needed help, and I knew that I needed to talk about the depressive thoughts that I felt. So I literally called my therapy place that I had been going to 2 years ago prior, and I ended up stopping because I thought I was better. I thought that I was doing okay, when in reality I literally was worse.
Yeah, I did the same thing, don't worry.
Yeah. So I called my therapist and I said, hey, I have to meet with you. And then from August until now, I meet with them every single week. And for a while, I would just cry every single week. I would cry and cry and cry and cry. And talk about the way I felt and talk about how I did not feel me and I did not love myself and I didn't care. Like I literally didn't care about anything. So that was my turning point. And everyone's turning point is different and everyone has a different outlook on when they need help. And I realized that I had to do it on my own. Like the amount of times that people like told me like, hey, don't do this, don't do that. And I was like, you know what, you're wrong. And at that time, my brain could not comprehend that what people were telling me was the truth. Because I was so focused on other things that my brain was telling me, no, Jackson, what they're saying is lies. Like my friends were worried that I wasn't eating. And I was like, nope, I'm eating. Nope, I'm eating. They're like, are you running too much? Nope, I'm fine. I'm good. Are you like mentally okay? Like, are you not crying anymore? Like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm over the situations that have happened to me. I'm good. Like, I love my major. And I was like, nope. In the inside, I hate my major. And I was lying to myself basically. And it wasn't until I realized that I was just continuing lying to myself that I had to go get help. And therapy for me has been one of the best things I've ever done. So.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I had an episode almost 4 years ago where back in high school my whole senior year was basically crap. It said earlier that your brain blacks out these bad memories.
Yeah.
I remember almost nothing from my senior year of high school. And I was in therapy for a while because of it, and I did the same thing. I thought I was better, and in reality I might have been better, but I think my life slowly got worse up until a couple months ago. And I did the same thing. I reached out and I'm right back, right back where I was. So
yeah,
it's really important to just recognize when you need some help, and there's no shame in it. There's just no reason to be ashamed of it.
Well, it's also important to realize that you can be in therapy when you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Like, you should be in, like, I personally believe that, like, everyone should be in therapy. It has blessed my life and my roommate's life and my family's life in ways that, like, I could never talk to them about things that I talk with my therapist about. And, like, even when, like, I am in the best place, I will still be in therapy. When I'm in a relationship, I will be in therapy. When I am married, I will be in therapy. Because you need to continue doing those things and having those conversations with someone other than your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, or your friends. And, like, realize, whoa, like, maybe I should look at this situation different. Or maybe this situation is, like, making me more upset than I think it is. And, like, we just as a society just need to normalize that therapy is like just talking to someone else. It doesn't mean your life is horrible. It doesn't mean that you're on the end of it's like the end of the world. Like, it's just another human being talking to you about everyday life.
Yeah, really, there's never any hurt in having a second set of eyes on a situation, a second set of ears, I guess. But it can't hurt anything.
It can't.
So why is there such a stigma around it?
Yeah. And, like,
established the reason. But
for me, I mean, when I was going through, I would honestly say the worst time of my life, that for the longest time, I did not want to talk about the way I felt. I hated it, and I did not want to share it with other people. Like, my social media, like, the amount is super ironic. I mean, I lost a lot of weight in a short period of time, and I was posting pictures because I was like, oh, I look good, and, like, it's so ironic because the amount of people that came up to me and they're like, I've noticed that you just look so good and, like, happy on your Instagram, and I would be like, thank you, and then I'd walk away and literally start crying because I'm like, no, I feel horrible. And it wasn't until I acknowledged the way I felt that I decided, you know what, I need to take some action and tell people that I'm not okay. And one of my best friends and I, we decided that we were both going to do a photo shoot, and we were going to express ourselves and create creativity and a creative outlet. And at that time, we were both struggling. We had both gone through really hardships, and we needed to just let that out in photos.
Yeah.
And I posted on my social media saying, hey, these photos are absolutely stunning, and I look like that I'm having a great time, and it's like a conceptual photo shoot, and it's like interesting and edgy and all those things, but I'm not. Like, these photos, I literally was like about to cry during these photos because I was so awful. Like, I felt so depressed, so anxious, so sad, and I just didn't feel me. And I just told the world that, you know what, I deal with depression, and the disconnect that I felt from everything was tremendous, and that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to reach out to a therapist or psychiatrist and talk to your friends about the way you feel, because it's normal. And I was so scared to post it. I literally was like shaking while I went to go post it on Facebook and Instagram, and then I pressed post, and the reaction was so overwhelming. It was so supportive and heartfelt, and people related to it. I had people messaging me saying thank you for sharing it, and like I just, it's important because it's like social media just made my life seem so perfect, that I was this white privileged boy who had everything going for him, and like I looked great, and I was happy and everything, and that post just shed light on the fact that, hey, I'm not good, but I'm working to get back there, but I'm not good, but I'm accepting the place that I'm currently in. And I mean, it was so moving to me, and the amount of people that called me, texted me, messaged me on Facebook or Instagram just saying thank you and like I relate was a lot, and it was so empowering. And I just feel like, especially coming from a male perspective, that it's important for also guys to show their emotions, because that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. I remember seeing that post and being shocked. I remember when you were working here, I remember just coming in and seeing you being this smiley, bubbly, outgoing person, and you know, they always say it's always the people that are, you know, that match that personality that are the ones struggling internally the most. It was just another instance where that rang true. And
Yeah.
it was almost heartbreaking to know that. I read through your caption and I finally started crying because I felt so bad. And
Thank
that
you.
one just really. I'm about to start crying now. But I remember seeing that, and that was another thing that made me want to reach out for some help too. So.
Well, that makes
Yeah.
me
You.
that was my goal. It wasn't for me to get the pity
It's
card
very-
or popularity or like
No.
have people talk about me. All I wanted was for people to hear my story and be like, hey, I feel that same way, or hey, it's okay to talk about my emotions, and it's okay to cry, and like for you to like reach out to get help. Like, that was my goal. Like, and not even help, just like talking to people and like expressing your emotions.
Exactly.
And that is my umbrella term, expressing your emotions. And I'm so happy that you were able to do that and move forward in those situations, because everyone should.
Well, the way you just the way you made the post. You mentioned you were like hesitant to post it, right?
Yeah.
The way you made the post, like you could tell you weren't doing it for like pity or like anything like that.
Yeah.
You could tell it was, I guess, like authentic.
Yeah, I just
Like, for lack of a better term, I don't know what the word to describe it is, but
I just looked at it as I wanted to say that I rewrote what I posted like 100 times, because I was like,
yeah,
I don't want it to sound
right.
fake. I don't want it to sound like just like wordy. I just like, hey, Instagram made my life seem it was amazing. No, it doesn't.
Right.
I hate asking for help. I've asked for help. I am depressed. Like, here's what I'm doing about it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, thankfully enough, major shout out to Caleb Schlack, who also is part of foster community. He was able to take the photos and just capture the um, the emotions. And I mean, my best friend and I, we're both Scorpions, so when we're sad, we're sad together.
Yeah.
And when we're excited at the same time. Like, it's literally like this kinetic energy that is like insane. So like when it happened, we both needed it so bad. And yeah, it was great.
I'm so glad.
Thank you.
It helped me, and I'm sure it helped other people too.
I hope so. I'm really glad it did for you.
You mentioned that, like in society, it's like a thing that men shouldn't show emotion, right? So I actually found an article written by somebody on Psychology Today. I'm going to link it in the show notes, but basically it goes over like why there's this like double standard. It talks about how there's, like a thing where like young boys will cry and stuff, but like by grade school that whole emotion basically goes away.
Yeah.
They lose the ability to cry all of a sudden. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I believe that it's been like systematic, just because it's like from the beginning of time, men had to work, men had to be the man of the house, they had to play football, they had to feed everyone, they had to make the money, they had to do all that. While the women stayed at home and like they could be emotional, and I just feel like men, if they were to show emotion, that they would feel weak, that they would feel less manly than they were before. When in reality, emotions, like I don't get why men don't think that they can be emotional. Like for me, when I'm looking for like a boyfriend or husband, like that is my number one thing. Like, are you emotional? Are you emotionally able to have a conversation and like tell me the way you feel? Like that to me is my number. Like besides the other one about loving themselves unconditionally, like that is a thing. But like emotions are so important, and like men, like don't do that enough. They never show the way that they're feeling, and like it's been proven where it's like when a man and woman break up, the girl's emotional during the beginning, and she cries and cries and cries, and she eventually gets over him. It's the guy, the reason why the guy comes back 2 years later is because he refuses to address any emotions and just suppresses them down. So when it gets, all of a sudden, he's like, oh my gosh, I miss you, like I ruined everything, like I'm so sad now. And she's like, well, you should have felt that 2 years ago.
Right.
Like, and show your true emotion. So it's like this whole box of why men just don't want to feel weak, and they don't want to be any less, again, less manly than anyone else. Like, why can't we as a society just let that label go?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make you weak. It literally, I honestly feel like it makes you stronger. Like, I don't know, like, and it's the generation of parents where they grew up where you could not show emotion. Like, it was very like, you had to be firm, and you had to be the man, and it's just like, I've even experienced that, like, but like, thankfully enough, like, as a music student, men in general are a lot more vulnerable anyway, because they're more musical, and like, they will show their emotion through music and stuff. Whereas like growing up in high school, I never ever saw any boys cry or ever talk about their emotions in any sense, ever. No, they never did. And like, it was just, I mean, I feel like now people are getting better at it, and like bigger celebrities that are males are coming out and saying, well, I go to therapy and I do this and like I do that, and like it's really nice. And it's good to have like those role models to say like, hey, I'm not good either. Like,
I think without that, we wouldn't have this like push for societal change. Like if we didn't have all these role models, kind of paving the way. But you mentioned the parents, like growing up in that age where they, men couldn't show emotion. With this generation, like this generational switch, do you think we're going to start seeing parents that do show emotion?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
And are we going to start seeing kids that grow up knowing that or boys that grow up knowing that it's okay to show emotion?
Mine will.
Yeah.
Mine will know.
Same.
But no, I think that I just feel like there's so many people that are like, whether they're in therapy, whether not, whether they're talking about their emotions, journaling, just expressing things that like, I feel like our generation is just way more aware of their emotions and aware of like their mental health and everything, that their kids will be aware of those things too. And I'm not saying that their kids need to be in therapy or any of that, because everyone's parenting is different. However, like my kids, whoever they are, like will know like you can express any emotion at any time, like to me and to anyone. Like don't feel the need that you can't cry because it's not what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, it is changing, and like, I just feel like, yeah, it's really changing.
During our pre-planning meeting for this episode, we came across an article from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And they found that in 2019, men died by suicide 3.63 times more often than women. So I just thought that was a crazy statistic. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like the demographic of like sexuality within the men in that age group, but I definitely feel like suicide is a lot more present in like straight males within the world, just because they are even like categorized or put into a higher level of like they need to be even more manly, like whereas like males of the LGBTQI plus community, like I feel like have they're more in touch with their emotions, just because they've like gone through things, or they identify maybe more as female or more feminine or any of those things. But it's the straight men in the world that struggle, because they are just that's what they are. And like, not saying that's bad at all, it's just straight men get stigmatized as like they have to be like the men, and they have to be like emotionless, and they have to like not cry or anything. And like that statistic is so true, because it's just like as men hide our emotions. We don't let anyone in. We don't want to show the world that we truly feel a certain way. And like, I mean, I saw the reason why one of the reasons I posted my thing about mental health was I saw a straight guy post about he had mental health issues too, and I was so surprised. I never in the history ever saw like a fratty, like every normal day guy post something about that. So to me, I was like, wow, if he can do it, so can I. And like, I just feel like we just need to break the stigma that like men can cry. Like I like have witnessed it through music. Like the amount of male singers that have addressed their heartbreak and their sadness or their depression or anxiety. Like for instance, Shawn Mendes, he talks about anxiety in it's called In My Blood, and he talks about the anxiety that he feels. Or like the band Laney, they always talk about their heartbreak. Or Love talks about heartbreak and anxiety and depression. And like, it's just important that they are men that are addressing their emotions, and they're doing it through song. And other people do it through journaling or through talking or therapy. But I just find that men just don't do it enough because they've never had to. No one has ever really like talked to them about their emotions and really asked them how they feel. And like, I mean, growing up, even me, like, I don't really remember like ever sitting down and like, truly talking about like how I felt about things. So it was like, yeah.
Yeah, neither did I. I don't remember ever sitting down, at least not with my parents, even with my friends or anything like that. I never really expressed emotion until recently. I don't think it was healthy to do that, but it's just new.
Yeah. I mean, even today as adults, it's new. Like, it's scary.
Yeah, it's so weird that everybody was raised that way and we've just accepted it as a norm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've just accepted that as a norm, and having grown up not really showing emotion and having to learn how to express my emotions, not only with like my friends, I'm still trying to understand how to do that with my family without going overboard
Yeah.
and expressing them the wrong ways, like through anger or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I never really expressed my feelings with words. It was always through theater that I was able to perform and really feel myself and everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it really wasn't until like 2020 where I literally started using like words to talk about how I truly felt. Like I was like, oh, I was sad or I'm angry. But it never was like, how are you actually feeling? Well, I'm sad because of this and these are the factors why. Or I'm angry because of this certain situation. Like it's like you have to break it down. And like with men, like in high school especially, like their friend group is about sports and or athletics or like science or something of that. The last thing they're going to talk about is emotions. Like, of course, they'll probably talk about relationships or girls or boys or whatever, but they're not going to talk about that. At least from my experiences, no boys ever did talk about those things.
Yeah.
Even girls it's hard to talk about too. Like, not to just say that straight men or any men in general can't talk about their emotions, but just in general, I think everyone struggles with talking about those things. For females, it might be different. I'm not a female, so I have no idea. I can't talk about that. But for men, it's like, well, I don't want to be embarrassed, and that's what it comes down to.
Do you think it's like a fear thing? Like, are people
Oh, of course.
like afraid of being judged?
Oh,
Or...
yeah. I mean, it's high school, like middle school. Like you're judged for like the way you walk, or what car you drive, or the way you eat, or what you eat, and it's like,
or how you eat it.
Yeah.
Oh, you said the way you eat. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. So it's like, of course they're gonna be scared. They're scared of everything. Everyone's scared of everything. Like it's like
even in the adult world, there's so many avenues for judgment, and that's a whole separate rant right there. Why do people have to be so judgmental?
Well, and I think part of it is like people are judgmental, but the other part is like, are we just like making things up? Because like half of the time people do stuff, I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah, it doesn't even affect you.
But our brains have taught us, well, they're looking at me for wearing these shorts.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, they actually think they're cute. They just don't say it. Like, so.
Yeah. No, gosh, that's a whole separate topic right there. Oh. Okay. So today's coffee feature is Foster Coffee Company in East Lansing, Michigan. They've got 3 locations in Michigan, East Lansing, Flint, and Owasso. Super special shout out to Nick and John and everybody at Foster for letting us use their space today. Everybody's always awesome here, and they're always super supportive of all of my awesome ideas. I got a rosemary orange latte. I got it iced because it's almost springtime. It's on their spring seasonal menu, but you can also get other drinks year-round. So, what'd you get, Jackson?
I'm drinking a lavender and honey iced latte with oat milk. It's great. My also favorite thing is their farmer's market, which is iced coffee with vanilla and cream, to die for during the summer.
Also, you guys can order online, you can have it delivered. Fabian and I had it delivered in Flint, so if you live near a location you want to try that out, make sure you check it out. They have a really cool online presence on their Instagram feed, so check out their grid. So again, super big shout out to Foster Coffee Company for letting us use their amazing space today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We have some show notes for you. If you want to head over to coffeewithzach.com, that's where you're going to find the most in-depth analysis of today's show. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. You know the Coffee with Zach handle, but Jackson, what's your Instagram?
Yes, it is _Jackson Hall.
All right, you heard it right there. Go follow Jackson. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, we would really, really appreciate it if you left us a nice review. Not only does it help us out with the feedback, it also lets other people know what to listen to. So you're helping us and you're helping others. If you are watching on YouTube, you have the luxury of seeing our beautiful faces. And you also you have that description box. That's where you're going to find some of the same information. Hit that like button, you know all the YouTube stuff. You know what to do. For any further inquiries, make sure you send us an Instagram DM or email us. We'll get back to you. And if you want to be featured on Coffee with Zach, we have a form up on our website. Make sure you fill that out and we'll take a look at it. If you share this with any of your friends, if you enjoyed it, feel free to just give us some feedback. let us know. It really helps us out. We really, really appreciate it, just like we appreciate you. So thank you so much. Jackson, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just thank you so much for having me, letting me
Yeah.
ramble, and just love your kids, love yourself, and don't feel scared to go to therapy. It's fun.
Well, Jackson, thank you so much for being
Thank
with
you.
us today. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure just having a conversation with you. This is what we're all about. So with that, I'll catch you next time on Coffee with Zach.
Good, awesome.
All right, I think we're all good.